Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we are in Venice, Italy, exploring the city, checking out historic sites, and taking in the beauty of the city. On the day we decided to visit St. Mark's Square, we started seeing a lot of police everywhere around there, and they were restricting where people could go. When I inquired into this, we learned that the Pope was visiting St. Mark's for Mass, and only people with Vatican issued passes could go near St. Mark's Square. Since we couldn't go to St. Mark's just yet, we decided to explore the vicinity where we were and discovered the Church of St. Zachariah. St. Zachariah was the father of St. John the Baptist, and the church is dedicated to him because his remains are preserved here. The church was established in the early ninth century as part of a convent dedicated to protecting his remains, which were a gift from the Byzantine emperor to the Doge of Venice. The present church was built between 1458 and 1515. The building next to it was the convent, and next to it was the bell tower, which dates to the 12th century. In AD 855, Pope Benedict III took refuge here shortly after being elected pope because a clergyman named Anastasio refused to accept the results of the election and tried to take the papal throne by force. After a period of about 2 months, Pope Benedict III was captured by the supporters of Anastasio, who is known as the anti-pope. This altarpiece is by Giovanni Bellini in 1505 and is considered one of his greatest works. These are the remains of Saint Zachariah, brought to Venice in the 9th century. The plaque reads, Body of Saint Zachariah, father of Saint John the Baptist. The choir chapel features 15th century choir stalls, giving the chapel its name. They are intricately carved with Bible scenes, flowers, and other designs. They were used by the Benedictine nuns who occupied the convent next door. This chapel is where the nuns came for their daily prayers and liturgical services. Here visitors will find several frescoes by some of the most prominent painters in Venice in the mid-15th century. The Chapel of Sorrows is most notable for its 15th century Marmorino plasterwork on the ceiling. The 10th century crypt underneath the Church of St. Zachariah is currently flooded, which I understand is not a permanent condition, but rather a frequent event. The ceilings are pretty low, barely 6 feet high. This is the final resting place of some of the Doges of Venice from the 9th and 10th centuries. Now let's head back upstairs to what's called the Golden Chapel. This chapel is called the Golden Chapel because of its golden altarpieces from the 15th century. The chapel was part of the chancel of the church built in 1170. The Golden Chapel is a testament to the rich cultural and artistic heritage of Venice. It reflects the city's historical importance as a center of religious devotion and artistic innovation. These 15th century golden altarpieces were made by local artists, likely for wealthy families for their family chapels. Although the chapel is commonly called the Golden Chapel, it is named after Saint Tarasius, a patriarch of Constantinople, whose remains are also preserved here. This altarpiece is called Sacra Conversazione, or Holy Conversation in English. It is by Giovanni Bellini from the 1460s, and it features Mary and Jesus surrounded by saints, including Saint Zachariah and Saint John the Baptist. Also preserved here is this mosaic flooring from the original 9th century church. This painting, likely from the early 15th century or earlier, shows Jesus on the cross and his blood being collected. The text at the bottom is an ancient legend claiming that this chapel has a vial of Jesus' blood and a body of one of the holy innocents, children of Bethlehem under age 2, that King Herod killed when he was hoping to kill Jesus. Riva degli Schiavoni is a 2,800-foot-long shoreline promenade that was built in the 9th century and named after Croatian merchants from the Dalmatian province. It is ideal for leisurely walks and offers a picturesque view and a pleasant atmosphere. It's popular for people watching, enjoying street performances, and taking in the beauty of Venice. The equestrian statue displayed prominently near the entrance to the Piazza San Marco is of Vittorio Emanuele II, the first king of the unified Italy. Looking from the Grand Canal, here's a view of St. Mark's Square featuring St. Mark's Basilica, its bell tower, and the Doge's Palace. St. Mark's Square is the main square of Venice and is flanked by Procuratia Vecchia and Procuratia Nuova, two long buildings that were originally used to house the offices of the high-ranking officials responsible for the overall administration of St. Mark's properties. These chairs are here for the crowd that came to see the Pope in the morning. The Campanile di San Marco is the freestanding bell tower of St. Mark's Basilica. It was originally built as a watchtower in the 10th century. In 1511, it was damaged in an earthquake, requiring nearly 400 years to repair. It finally collapsed in July 1902 and was rebuilt with construction completed in 1912. At over 320 feet tall, it is the tallest building in Venice. Adjacent to St. Mark's Square, the Doge's Palace was the residence and office of the chief government executive of Venice. It also housed other government offices, including the court and some short-term jails. Construction began in 1340 with numerous renovations and expansions over the centuries. Since 1996, the Doge's Palace has been a museum. The Bridge of Sighs is an enclosed bridge over Rio di Palazzo, or Palace River in English, connecting the interrogation rooms of the Doge's Palace on the left with New Prison on the right. When someone was convicted of a crime, they were escorted across this bridge to New Prison, and looking through the tiny openings in the windows was the last opportunity for them to see their beloved Venice before their incarceration. The bridge's name comes from the legend that prisoners would give a sigh at the beauty of the city before spending their time surrounded by walls. We're at St. Mark's Basilica, and we tried to come here this morning, but it was closed off by the police because the Pope was here. And anybody crossing the police barrier had to have a special pass issued by the Vatican, allowing them to be here with the Pope. Basilica di San Marco, or St. Mark's Basilica, is dedicated to St. Mark the Evangelist, whose remains are preserved here. Construction of the current church began in 1063, and the church was consecrated in 1094 when St. Mark's remains were deposited beneath the high altar. In about AD 828, 10 merchant ships from Venice stopped in Alexandria, Egypt, for safe harbor from a storm. While there, 2 of the merchants learned that the Christian population there was in severe decline and that the Islamic leaders had plans to tear down the church where St. Mark was buried. The priest and the merchants devised a plan for them to take St. Mark's remains to Venice for safety, and smuggled his remains out of Alexandria in a basket of pork, knowing that the Muslims would not even touch it to inspect it. Upon arrival in Venice, St. Mark's remains were taken to the Doge, who wrote in his will of AD 829 that his brother and mother were to build a church where St. Mark's remains were to be reburied. The astronomical clock located on the clock tower in St. Mark's Square was built in 1497, and this is one of the oldest and most intricate astronomical clocks in Europe. The procession of the Magi, following a trumpet blast, occurs on only 15 days of the year, around Ascension Day, which is 40 days after Easter. The clock features a large dial with 2 concentric rings. The outer ring displays the hours and minutes, while the inner ring shows the phases of the moon and the zodiac signs. The column on the left features the winged lion of St. Mark, a key symbol of Venice. On the right is the column of St. Theodore, dating back to the 9th century. This restaurant on St. Mark's Square has been around since 1720, making it the oldest coffee house in Venice. They have regularly scheduled concerts in warmer weather, and we were fortunate to be here for some live music celebrating the Pope's visit to Venice. This little fella looks like he's enjoying his meal, but I get the impression that the restaurant doesn't appreciate freeloaders. Let's take one final look at St. Mark's Basilica as we sail away down the Grand Canal of Venice. Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. As always, I appreciate your support. Until next time, ciao, arrivederci, bye bye.